Hey everyone, this is Layla Shaver with Case Study Wednesdays. Today we're talking about In the Matter of Creative Planning, Inc. and Peter A. Maluk, Administrative Proceeding number 3-18779. So, Creative Planning, Inc., or CPI for short, is a SEC-registered advisory firm with about $36.2 billion in AUM as of July 2018. And they are a Missouri corporation. Peter A. Maluk is the majority owner and the president of CPI. So CPI engaged a local radio station for live and pre-recorded radio advertisements. Now, during the course of these advertisements, one of the radio hosts actually became a client of CPI and began to include his own personal experiences in the live advertisements he did on the radio. So these are client testimonies. He's talking about his own experience and the services he received. The radio station then subsequently created a pre-recorded testimonial that was also being dispersed on their radio station. Now, CPI's policies and procedures, their compliance manual, required that advertisements were going to be pre-approved and all copies were going to be maintained. Now, what the SEC found was that this didn't happen. There was no pre-approval. CPI didn't have any copies of the advertisements, either the live ones or the pre-recorded. They weren't monitoring it, so they didn't catch the fact that these testimonials were being included in these advertisements, whether it was the live ones or the pre-recorded ones. Separately, the majority owner, Mr. Maluk, did not report securities, holdings, and transactions for 3 personal securities accounts, and that was in violation of CPI's Code of Ethics. So, ultimately, what happened? The firm had to pay a civil money penalty of $200,000, and Maluk personally had to pay a civil money penalty of $50,000. So, not cheap, especially when you consider, these advertisements, happen in March to October of a single year, but the fact that they were dispersed so widely and so many people heard them. So, what can we learn from this case? I know a lot of you guys have Facebook pages, LinkedIn pages, YouTube channels, podcasts, things like this where you may be talking about your services, providing educational material. Just remember, these are all kind of considered advertisements because you're talking about yourself and you're talking about the firm. And anything that's directly or indirectly construed as a testimonial is completely illegal. You can't do it. So, for example, your Facebook pages, if you allow folks to go and rate your business, however many stars, that's going to be an issue. If you've claimed your business on Google and clients have the ability to leave reviews, those are all testimonials. Now, keeping in mind that some of these platforms may not make it so you can take off that feature, certainly I would reach out to that provider and see if it is explaining that this is, a violation in your industry to do these things. But certainly you want to ensure that if you are maintaining social media accounts, even if it's not one of these things where you can, 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, if people can comment and say, hey, this company's great, I love the advisor, blah, blah, they saved me this much money, you want to at least be able to make sure there's an option where you can review posts before they're publicly on your page. You want to be very mindful of the content you do put out there, because it's all going to be kind of looked at as advertisements. So you want to be careful about what you're talking about in terms of your services. Obviously, you don't want to guarantee anything, but you don't want to bring up, I saved this much money for this person, or I made this % for this person. So be careful about that. And the second piece of this case was the personal securities transaction. So all of you should have codes of ethics. That's a requirement. And generally these require that supervised persons, people who have access to client accounts, etc., are going to be providing copies of their personal securities accounts to the firm so that they can be monitored. So if you have a policy, for example, that employees can't take a position that is contrary to the positions you're taking in your clients' accounts, then this is the way you make sure they're not doing it. You're receiving copies of those transactions, those statements from these personal securities accounts. So if you're not already reviewing it, you certainly need to be. If you don't have a code of ethics, you certainly need to have one. And I think the biggest takeaway is that everyone should have a compliance manual. Know what the hell's in your compliance manual. You know, whether you spent $500 on it, $5,000 on it, or $50,000 on it, I don't give a shit. Know what the hell's in it, because it's not an excuse for you not to do something. I've had clients where, you know, a state regulator may not require that they do a certain thing, but because it's in the compliance manual and they didn't do it, it's a violation, and they were fined for it. Same thing with there's no excuse. You are supposed to do an annual review of your compliance manual. You know, your staff, everyone in the office, they're supposed to sign off that they've reviewed your compliance manual, and if you're doing your annual review, that they're then signing off that they've reviewed the changes to the manual. They understand their requirements, their responsibilities under the compliance manual. So these are all, you know, big takeaways, starting with the big piece of know what the hell's in your compliance manual, know what the requirements are, and actually do them. And if they're not something that's practical to your business, then amend your compliance manual to be more practical for your business in practice, while also ensuring that it meets your regulatory requirements. And then, yes, be very mindful of your advertisements. Obviously, marketing is a big thing for businesses, especially new businesses, new RIAs that are going out there in the market. You want to draw in clients. You have to be very, very careful in terms of what your content is, what you're putting out there, whether it's radio, video, you know, blog post, whatever it may be, being very mindful of the content. So if you have questions about your compliance systems, about your advertisements, maybe you're just freaking worried now because the last time you looked at your compliance manual was 4 years ago and you're not even sure that it's complete, give us a call, 770-462-2118. Let's set up a consultation, let's discuss the issues, and let's get this shit fixed. Because you don't want to pay $50,000 personally for some stupid things that you did. And you certainly don't want your firm to have to pay $200,000 over some advertisements that you weren't monitoring, because these are both easy things that could have been fixed and avoided. So again, give us a call, 770-462-2118. We look forward to hearing from you. Bye.